But that's what they're up to. And as Stan and I know, and many of you do, they've been trying to do this for a long time. And they've been usually met with unsuccessful attempts. And here they think this time they've got it all together. And I think they're wrong. I think they are going to be unsuccessful. And one of the strong reasons is Stan and I get letters from all over the world from people who say, hey, thank you. We really didn't understand what was going on, and now we do. And now we're questioning the veracity of the people who run our countries and who their allegiance really is to. Is it to the people, or is it to this band of 5,000 that are not happy being wealthy and prosperous? They must have world domination. And I think what's going to happen 2 to 3 years from now, when this whole thing starts coming apart, I think that they're going to find there's going to be a lot of opposition in a lot of places that they never expected it. And the word that we're getting out is extremely important because people are looking for answers, not all of them, but many of them. And as we go along, there will be higher unemployment. Things will change in America and throughout the world dramatically, and people will be reaching out for knowledge, and that's why we continue to do what we do.
Well, I do think that more and more people are at least willing to listen, and certainly as we see the cascade of home foreclosures increasing, as we see so many good businesses, solid businesses, laying off large numbers of people, a lot of executives losing their jobs, people who work for the government, at a state or a county or local level who never thought they'd lose their jobs, and suddenly there's no money to pay for them and they're getting laid off. At least I hope some of them are going to start asking, why is this happening? And of course, it's happening on purpose. The people in charge were not stupid. They didn't have to precipitate this at this time. They were doing fairly well if they just acted responsibly. But of course, they have not. They have actually massively increased the money out of there. They created bubble after bubble after bubble. And I mean, the stock market bubble and the housing bubble and now the bond bubble. But the next big bubble is going to be when that derivative bubble breaks. Why, heaven help us all.
Well, you got to throw in there the credit card bubble, and one of the most important under derivatives is the bubble that is going to really destroy the pension plans. Now, most of the pension plans as of today in the S&P 500 are probably off since the high in the market around 50%. It varies widely. It all depends on the mixture of stocks, but just based upon the Dow Jones Industrial Average, it's 50%. And there are funds and mutual insurance companies which have a big bond portfolios, and they might be off 25%. So they are doing considerably better. I was appalled in 1986 when pension and profit-sharing plans started buying stock because theretofore they had all only bought bonds. It was safety of principle, and, there's 7% return. But that wasn't good enough for the CalPERS and the California State Teachers pension plans. They went berserk. And as a result of their, we'll coin this word, berserkness, those two funds are in serious, serious trouble.
Well, I think you call it greed is the term, Bob. And, of course, they were paying their fund managers by the amount of money they could make. And you could make a lot of money taking these very unsafe risks. But as long as you were making a lot of money and of course, you were getting massive bonuses. I'm talking about, hundreds of millions of dollars a year managing these funds, profits, because, your salary was based upon how well things did. And it was great, of course, when things were going up. But when the market turned, none of them offered to give the money back. And, of course, they just left the pensioners losing half their money. And believe me, this is just the beginning And, of course, many of our corporations are not in a position possibly to go ahead and replenish the money in those stock funds. Well, this is Dr. Stan, and Bob was just talking about when they tried this, something very similar to what we're doing today in Europe, and it was known as the Lombard system. And what was the date when it collapsed? 13, you say?
1348.
1348, and was that then the year of the Great Plague as well?
Same year. 50% of the people in Europe died.
All right, fine. But there's the financial system that they'd set up, a paper system, a phony paper system exactly as we have today. And there's nothing new. I mean, certainly this is what happened to the Weimar Republic. This is what's going on in Zimbabwe today, where they have an inflation rate. The last thing I heard was it was 186 trillion percent. Now, that's not trillion, that's not quadrillion, that's not septillion, that's sextillion. That's, I can't even imagine how many O's that is there, but, they finally decided to go back and just start in with a new currency. And anybody who had the old currency, it's just all destroyed. It's worth exactly, what fiat money currency is really worth. Absolutely nothing.
And that includes every currency in the world today.
And people really can't understand that. They cannot believe it. Here in America, we've been protected. At least over in Germany, they remember the Weimar Republic. Certainly in Russia, they remember what happened in the early 1990s. In South America, they've seen it time and again. And certainly, well, the people in Africa can see what's happening to Zimbabwe. But we live here in almost like a bubble, and we think everything's going to be all right, that Obama's going to solve the problem. In fact, a recent survey asking, who do you think the most of? Obama, Jesus Christ, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, Ronald Reagan, and of course, who was at the top, even above Jesus Christ, was Barack Obama. Most popular president we've ever had, at least at this time. But of course, he's promised he's going to get things moving, and he's going to get them moving all right. They're going to be moving further and further down. And more people are going to lose their homes and lose their businesses. And may heaven help us. We'll go right ahead, Bob.
I've seen several opinion polls, and they range from a plus 54 to a plus 66. So I would think it would be fair to assume that Mr. Obama's rating is around 60%, which is lower than George Bush and Bill Clinton at that stage. And I have projected that by the end of October that his rating will be 40. And goodness knows what it's going to be next year, because everything is coming unglued. And no matter how good he would be, there's nothing he can do about what these people are deliberately doing. And so all he is a figurehead. He's a PR guy that they dance around and make look good. They get good speech writing, and all of the important things are going on behind the scenes. And those are the manipulation of world markets, the preparations for Third World War, preparations for martial law in America, and so on and so forth. Everything that's been done over the last 20 years, but more nearly the last 10 years, in the United States has been negative for the American people. And one of the worst things has been free trade, globalization, offshoring, and outsourcing.
And
you don't hear much about it anymore. But day by day, thousands and thousands of jobs are still leaving our country. And nothing's being done about it.
Well, Mr. Obama says, when we get through with this, we're going to be stronger than ever. And how can he say that? He knows that the plan of the people who really run things behind the scenes is to weaken America, to send our jobs, to send our factories overseas. Why would he want to say that, we're going to end up stronger than ever, when he knows that isn't true, that the people who really run things behind the scene are globalists, and they want to redistribute the wealth and the manufacturing of the United States, because why should Americans have so much when so many people in the world have so little? That's their idea. Of course, they want to distribute our wealth, not their wealth.
Well, Mr. Obama is a Marxist, and America's going to find that out. It'll be clothed in socialism, but he's a Marxist. And, you know, these people who are in power or the front pieces like he is, like Reagan was, and like Bush and Clinton, they just moved around like men on a chess table, and they really don't have much to say about anything. They're told what to say. But the ism doesn't make any difference. Who cares if you have a government that's totalitarian? Whether it's fascism or communism, they're both bad.
Amen to that. Well, it's all about centralizing all power in Washington, D.C., and having them monitor and control every aspect of our lives.